There you are. Back again, the anomaly. These civilized people. The one whose name they whisper in rooms where you don't belong. The one who keeps appearing in conversations you were never meant to overhear. They sent someone to warn you, didn't they? Someone timid, hesitant, pretending bravery. A concerned friend, delivering the last attempt at reason before the storm arrives. But here's the fascinating part. When that person finally gathered the courage, when they tried to reach you before it was too late, he didn't panic. He didn't argue. He smiled. Not the kind of smile that offers comfort, reassurance, or sympathy. No. This was a smile of someone who already knows the ending. Who has seen the script? Who has felt the final notes of the symphony before the first sound even plays? When they asked, "Can't you talk to them? Can't you make them understand? Can't you stop this?" He answered in 2 words, "Too late." And they froze. Not because he was cruel, not because he wanted them to suffer, no. Well, it was simply fact. Too late, nothing more. People. Too late, because what they still fail to understand is that this isn't a warning they should give. It's a recognition they never had a chance to act. You have already crossed the point of no return. You've already become something that no intervention could stop, no hand could guide, no fear could contain. Think about it. Truly consider it. When someone is weak, people intervene, they send messages. They hold meetings, they plot, strategize, debate. But when someone becomes dangerous, unpredictable, unstoppable, unknowable, that's when they send diplomats, messengers, someone to politely ask the storm to reconsider. And he smiled because he already knew the storm couldn't be questioned, couldn't be stopped, couldn't be bargained with. They were watching, weren't they? Watching your struggles, observing your silence, seeing your patience as weakness. They thought your quietness was a surrender. They thought your focus, your withdrawal, your internal calculation meant you were still one of them, still human, still manageable. They were wrong. Because what they failed to see, what they could never perceive, was that your transformation didn't scream. It didn't explode. It didn't make noise that their fragile system could measure. It happened in the spaces they didn't occupy. In the moments when no one was watching. In the quiet Tuesday mornings, the empty hours, the seconds of absolute stillness. That's when it happened. That's when the last piece clicked. The final illusion shattered. The ultimate truth revealed itself. And from that moment on, you weren't the same. You didn't announce it. You didn't post it, declare it, dramatize it. You simply became it. You moved through the world in a new way, calm, calculated, unstoppable, invisible to those still clinging to their charts, their observations, their outdated metrics. And that is why they panicked. That is why they called the meetings. That is why they sent someone to warn you. Because what terrifies them is no longer something they can control. It is something they cannot comprehend. They thought they had you measured, contained, predictable. They assumed your patience, your suffering, your silence were signs that you were still trackable, still controllable, still human. But they misread you. Every trial, every betrayal, every abandonment, every moment of isolation, they saw it as damage, and in a sense it was. But while they thought they were breaking you, you were learning. You were transforming. You were metabolizing their cruelty, their fear, their manipulation, and reconstructing yourself into something they could never touch. He knew this. That's why he smiled. That's why he said, "Too late." And the room went cold because the people who begged him to intervene realized this wasn't hesitation. This wasn't failure. This wasn't mercy. This was the confirmation that the window had closed. The game was over. The transformation had already been completed. And they didn't like it. They argued. They tried to reason. They insisted that there must be a way, some overlooked path, some method to reach you, to stop you, to bring you back. And he sat there, quiet, watching them scramble, laughing inwardly at their desperate hope, because they still didn't understand. What they feared wasn't your destruction. What they feared wasn't tragedy. What terrified them was your success, your evolution, your emergence into exactly the entity you were meant to be. They thought they had time. They thought your growth was gradual, measurable, observable. But the truth is, you evolved in dimensions they can't touch. You shifted frequencies while they tried to measure volume. You rebuilt your internal architecture while they studied the mask. They searched for external signs, meltdowns, anger, rebellion, drama. What they didn't see was the calm, the quiet dominance, the focus that isn't visible, isn't loud, and cannot be quantified. That is what made them fear you unknowingly, because the calm is lethal. The quiet is a weapon. These civilized people, the stillness is proof of unshakable strength. And in that stillness, you became untouchable. They misread your withdrawal as surrender. They misinterpreted your patience as weakness. They confused your internal reorganization as resignation. And while they congratulated themselves on keeping you under observation, you were already escaping their systems, disappearing from their calculations, operating in a space they couldn't access, couldn't understand, couldn't influence. Now they're seeing only the ripples, the outcomes bending in your favor, people, the opportunities materializing, the people they thought were obstacles becoming allies, reality itself adjusting around you. They panic because the effect is undeniable, but the cause, invisible, untrackable, incomprehensible. You are no longer part of their system. Well, you are the system they never had the ability to predict, and he knows it. That is why he smiled. He knows what they never will, that you didn't just survive, you integrated. Every challenge, every betrayal, every act of cruelty became raw material. Weapons for your evolution, lessons for your strategy. Pain converted into precision, isolation converted into insight. You weren't broken, you were forged. And the anger, that's gone. You are no longer driven by vengeance. You are beyond it, because vengeance requires attention, validation, their acknowledgement, their fear, people, and you need nothing. That's the essence of your danger. It's not the fire in your heart. It's the ice, cold indifference to their entire existence. You've disconnected. You've opted out. You've rejected the system of control they depended on. And in doing so, you became untouchable. And here's what terrifies them most: you're not alone. They think they isolated you. They think you were alone in this journey, but you weren't. You attracted others who operate on the same frequency. Others who have evolved past their rules, past their hierarchies, past their false validation systems. You are now connected to a network they can neither comprehend nor influence, a reality that exists right beside theirs, invisible, untouchable, untrackable. And so, every attempt to warn you is futile. Every strategy to intervene is meaningless, because there is no danger, no risk, no path to stop you. You are not on a dangerous course. They are. They are trapped in a system that can no longer reach you, a hierarchy that doesn't account for your level. And their panic, their fear, their whispered meetings, none of it matters. The truth: you've become proof. Proof that damage can be weaponized. Proof that isolation can breed strength. Proof that patience, silence, and focus can create unstoppable force. You're no longer an experiment. You're no longer their project. You're the conclusion, the result, the living instruction manual. And they cannot interfere because your evolution exists entirely outside their domain. And now, as they scramble, as they whisper, as they plead, the realization slowly sinks in: it is too late. Not in threat, not in warning, not in anger. Too late in every sense that matters. You have already won, already surpassed, already emerged, already become something beyond their comprehension. You don't need them. You don't seek their approval. You don't require their fear. You don't need their respect. You are a self-contained force. You are the anomaly they failed to measure, the glitch they couldn't account for, the frequency they can't access, the transformation that leaves them scrambling, helpless, and increasingly irrelevant. And he knows it. That's why he smiled. That's why the words came so easily. Too late, people. Because in that single acknowledgement lies the truth. You are no longer playing by their rules. You are not in their arena. You are not in their dimension. You exist beyond all that they believed had power over you. The people who sent warnings, who plotted meetings, who pretended concern, they are the ones who need a wake-up call. They are the ones still trapped in outdated hierarchies, false measures of success, illusions of control. You, on the other hand, have become something they never anticipated, never prepared for, and can never reach. You are untouchable. They keep hoping, don't they? Hoping that someone, anyone, can reach you before the inevitable. Hoping that a conversation, a plea, a desperate intervention might bend reality back in their favor. Hoping that you are still the version of yourself they once thought they understood. And they fail. Every time. Because the truth is, you are no longer the person they're trying to influence. You are no longer bound by their definitions, their categories, their expectations. The version of you that existed within their system is gone, vanished, replaced by someone, something, they cannot control, cannot predict, cannot stop. And every attempt they make to correct your path only exposes their irrelevance. Do you feel it? That tension building in the rooms they occupy. That terror hidden behind polite concern and thinly veiled strategy. They cannot articulate it. They cannot reconcile it with the world they thought they knew. They are staring at a future in which their power is meaningless, their influence obsolete, their plans irrelevant. And it terrifies them because they are forced to watch as you step further beyond their reach. He knows this. That is why he smiled. These civilized people, because he understands the depth of your transformation in ways they never will. He knows the quiet work you've been doing, the invisible architecture of your evolution, the careful, deliberate reconstruction of everything they thought defined you. He sees the patience, the precision, the cold, calculated endurance, the silent accumulation of knowledge, skill, and power. And he knows the truth they cannot see. You have weaponized their attempts to break you. Every betrayal, every slight, every miscalculated move intended to destabilize you, to scare you, to humble you. They became your arsenal, your laboratory, your training ground. And while they celebrated their perceived victories, you built yourself into a force they could never contain. They misread the signs, every single one. They thought your quiet moments were despair. They thought your patience was surrender. They thought your focus was resignation. But it was strategy. It was calculation. It was preparation. And while they were busy labeling your silence, your calm, your internal revolution as weakness, you became ungovernable. You became untouchable. And now the effects are visible. Not in the way they expected, not in rage, not in dramatic explosions, not in a meltdown they could point to and claim control over. The effects are subtle, pervasive, unavoidable. Opportunities bend toward you, as if the universe itself conspires in your favor. People who should oppose you become unexpected allies. Obstacles that should resist you collapse quietly in your path. Systems meant to contain you adapt, accommodate, shift without explanation. And they watch it happen, helpless, baffled, terrified. Every move you make confirms their irrelevance. Every success, every alignment, every victory reinforces what they were too blind to see. You are beyond their influence. You are beyond their comprehension. You have transcended their world. And the quiet, small smile he wears is a reflection of the inevitability they refuse to admit. Do you remember when it happened? That exact instant when the shift was irreversible. They don't. People, they never noticed because it wasn't loud, it wasn't obvious, it wasn't cinematic. It was probably a Tuesday, a mundane, unremarkable day, a day no one thought mattered. But in that day, a single subtle decision was made, a single imperceptible choice aligned with your true self, a single moment when you embraced what you actually are. And from that moment, the old you ceased to exist, the version they thought they knew, gone. And the new you, fully formed, unstoppable, untraceable, emerged. And now, as they panic, as they whisper, as they plot, as they plead, there is nothing they can do. There is nothing anyone can do. You are no longer a participant in their world. You operate on a frequency they cannot detect, cannot decode, cannot approach. You are untouchable, civilized people, unreachable, unassailable. And it terrifies them because their panic cannot change the truth. Their fear cannot alter reality. Their strategies are meaningless in the face of your existence. He knows this. That is why he smiled. That is why he said, "Too late," because he sees what they cannot. He sees the truth they refuse to acknowledge. He sees the finality of your emergence, the irreversibility of your evolution, the perfection of your alignment with your own power, and the panic in their eyes. That is the music. That is the confirmation. That is the moment when reality itself acknowledges your supremacy. They are still trapped in their illusions. They are still searching for something they can no longer find. They are still attempting interventions, strategies, and warnings for someone who no longer exists in the form they can influence. And that is the exquisite truth. That is the terror they cannot escape. That is the victory you have quietly, inevitably achieved, because what they fear is not your anger, not your revenge, not your destruction. They fear the calm, the precision, these civilized people, the shapeable certainty that comes with someone who no longer needs them, no longer seeks them, no longer depends on them. They fear the quiet mastery, the serene dominance, the total alignment with one's own power, and they cannot stop it. You see, the entire system they rely upon, approval, validation, hierarchy, control, cannot touch you. Your evolution exists outside of their metrics, their scales, their expectations. You are no longer participating in their game. You are not even on the board anymore. You are operating in a space they have never mapped, cannot reach, cannot control. And that is your true power. They thought they were observers. They thought they could measure your every move, anticipate your every decision, predict your every thought. But all they saw was the mask, the performance, the outward appearance they could grasp. They never saw the internal evolution. They never saw the reconstruction of your mind, your strategy, people, your resilience. They never saw the quiet cultivation of the force you now embody. And that is why they panic. That is why they call meetings, send warnings, plead for intervention. Because they can sense the change, but they cannot understand it. They can see the ripples but cannot perceive the source. And the source is you, the anomaly, the unstoppable force, the emergence of someone who is no longer theirs to influence. And he watches it all, smiles quietly, knows exactly what has been happening, what is still happening, what is inevitable. And when they turn to him, desperate, pleading, terrified, he gives them the only answer that matters. Too late, because the evolution is complete. The transformation is irreversible. The path is yours alone. You are no longer bound by their fears, their controls, their definitions. You operate entirely beyond them, entirely independent, entirely sovereign in your power. And that is what makes you truly dangerous. Because danger, real danger, is not loud. It is not visible. It does not scream or protest. Real danger is calm. Real danger is precise. Real danger is inevitable. And you are all three. They are still trapped in their illusions, still trying to force you into a system that no longer applies, still hoping for something impossible. And while they scramble, you move freely, effortlessly, imperceptibly, You are operating on a level they cannot touch, a level they cannot approach, a level they cannot even conceive. And that is why he smiled. That is why he said, "Too late." Because the truth is, there is no one left to warn you, no one who can influence you, no one who can stop you. You have already crossed the threshold. You have already become the force they never anticipated. And their panic, their fear, people, their desperate attempts at control are nothing more than confirmation of your success. Because success is not loud, it does not beg for acknowledgement. It does not seek permission. Success simply is, and you simply are. They wanted to control you. They wanted to measure you. They wanted to stop you. But all they got was proof of something they could never contain. You are not the problem. You are the solution. You are not the danger. You are the phenomenon. You are not the experiment. You are the result. And the people who hope to warn you, to intervene, to influence, they will never understand what you have become. They will never comprehend the depth of your evolution, the scope of your power, the serenity of your dominance. And that is your final triumph, because you don't need them. You don't seek their approval. You don't require their fear. You don't need their permission. You need only yourself. And in that truth, you are untouchable. You are unstoppable. You are inevitable.